overcome much of my limits when I stopped caring about winning and focused on enjoying the whole game. Would you agree that focusing on winning more than improving is just a classic crutch? It depends on your level. It really depends on how good you are at the game currently. If you're someone who is, let's say, from absolutely brand new up to about the ceiling of mid-level and you're not quite making high-level decisions yet, then yes, if you're getting super frustrated at yourself because you're not learning anything and you're just focusing on winning and you're making the same bad mistakes over and over again, then yes, I would say it's a massive crutch. In which case you have to say, okay, well, if I'm fighting people that I know for a fact are better than me or they have been playing for years longer than I have, I kind of have to just give it up and say, you know what, I'm probably going to lose this. So can I at least try and learn versus being mad at your, let's say, mad at your same decisions being used over and over again and not really progressing because it's just not working. Because more often than not, and this is, I've always thought this, the way that Smash is it is 60-40 or almost 70-30 tilted in the direction of knowledge. More often than not, a player is better than you because they know more than you. I'm not going to say always. I'm not going to sit here and say there's no matchups that are just complete BS, because trust me, of course there are. But if someone is genuinely outplaying you with, let's say, a character like Lucina, then, or Ike even, or I don't know, Wolf sometimes, but sure, a character like that, where it's like mostly fundies based, they probably are seeing something that you're doing, or they're taking advantage of your tilt. They're taking advantage of your tilt, they're taking advantage of the fact that you're getting upset or angry or frustrated with how you're playing and the fact that it's not working. So when you do those things, they gravitate, let's say you gravitate towards, I don't know, up smashing more, doing more get up attacks, rolling in more, stuff like that. If you're doing those types of things constantly, and a better player will notice those things. It's not like he's going to punish them in more spectacular ways or have fancier setups, and that's not what makes him better. He's better because he just sees what you're doing and you're blinded by rage, essentially. Winning and wanting to do so when you are at an equal level is a huge motivator, but if they are hugely better than you, that can destroy your view. That's like I was saying before. If you are, I guess if we were to put it into the perspective of, let's say, top player versus top player, if you are equally skilled and they can go in either direction, realistically, it does boil down to your mentality to say, okay, I'm going to stay calm and collective while this person rages. Even if a better person than you, which typically this wouldn't work or wouldn't happen at top level, but if a top level player starts to get tilted or rage, then they can just throw and get absolutely steamrolled. A lot of the times, players will, or you'll hear commentators say like they have the download on the opponent when they could have the download, but it's more so that they have the download on the opponent being tilted. That's realistically what it is. Try and get under my skin, Street Fighter by teabagging, because yeah. Okay, so for something like that, if someone is, this is for me almost even, I wouldn't say easier, but it makes it more obvious. If somebody's actually teabagging and taunting a ton and they're trying to provoke you, that's when, at least for me, that's when you just sit there and do nothing. If you're losing, the number one thing I'd be doing, when I say sit there and do nothing, I don't mean like stop playing. I mean just like take your time and recognize, hey, they're trying to do something on purpose because it's going to work if you fall for this. I'd be looking at the time and say, okay, I have 4.5 minutes. I'm getting destroyed or whatever. I have 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes left. I might even lose this game, but I have this game at least to try and adapt for the next game, provided it's not like game 3 or game 5 or whatever already. So if they try and like say the quiet part out loud and they're teabagging and taunting all that stuff right away or out in the open, then I would try my best to not get tilted at that and say, okay, I get what they're trying to do. And then if I let it work, then it's guaranteed I'm going to lose. I guess I can answer the strategizing question. How do you strategize in the game versus how do you strategize in life? We'll start with the game first. And I can almost even tie this in with the other question as well too. When I'm strategizing in the game, it's kind of like, it's almost impossible to really give you like a one-liner type of answer. But the number one thing I would be doing is if I'm going into a particular region, well, let's say it's my own region, I know my local, I know who the best players are, I know who the average players are, I know who the players are that have the pocket Game & Watch or the pocket hero or whatever it might be. Those are the types of things I'd be strategizing around to say, okay, if somebody's going to pull out these characters, what is the number 1, 2, and 3 moves that I have to care about? What are the moves that are bullshit? What are the moves that have super armor? What are the moves that have 5 frames of end leg? Those are the types of things that I'd be caring about as far as strategizing around that. And then I've been looking at my own pool of characters, and I say that very specifically because nowadays with how Smash is played, basically no one plays one character. You can say some players do, like I'll say like a Light or a Mute Ace at this point, but most characters that are crushing most players have at least 2 characters, at least, if not even 3. As far as strategizing around that, if you know that you play a character, I'll say for myself, if I play Falco and I know I have to fight against a Game & Watch or even a Cloud, and I know I could just play Pyramithra, or actually instead of saying Cloud, I'll say Yoshi. Because Yoshi and Falco, they kind of go back and forth, but bro, Yoshi Pyramithra might be 90-10 for Pyramithra. It might be the easiest shit in the entire world. It's like Falco DK, in my opinion. It's trash for Yoshi. So if I know that I have that, and as far as I know I have that character, and I know somebody plays Yoshi in my region, as far as strategizing around that, I would say, okay, if I'm going to fight this person, game one, I'm just going to play Pyra/Mythra, and if they don't counterpick me off game one, they stay as Yoshi, then I just win. I basically just win for free. And then I'm going to stay as Pyra/Mythra, see if they happen to switch, and if they don't, I'm just going to win the whole set. Versus trying to hum and haw and reinvent the entire wheel forever with a character that goes relatively even. Maybe, honestly, in some cases, Falco might even win against Yoshi. I don't really believe it that much, because Yoshi can just punish him out of shield so easily and kill him out of shield basically for free. So I don't really love it. It's possible, but I don't love it. So for me, it's like, okay, the strategy is, if I know who I'm about to fight, I'd also be scouting out these players in my local, as far as looking at the bracket and say, okay, if I beat this person, I know I'm about to fight someone who's very good that plays Robin, or very good that plays Captain Falcon, or whoever it is, and then go from there and say, okay, do I have anything I can pull out to make this slanted in my favor? And if my best bet is my current character and it's still a losing matchup, what do I know about their character to try and not make it a uphill battle as much as I possibly can? It's kind of like, here's the thing, like, it's kind of a blanket statement way of saying things, because I don't know what your region's like, I don't know what your characters are like that you play, I don't know what your level is like. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but at the very least, if you're trying to make it as binary as possible, you should be going to ultimateframedata.com and looking up your opponent's frame data, and also looking up your own, as far as out of shield, as far as landing lag, as far as end lag, as far as, I don't know, range, disjoint, super armor, stuff like that. So you just know, okay, if someone does this particular move, I can punish it with this every single time because of math. Like, there's nothing they can do to stop me. So if they throw, let's say, Cloud Cross Slash, which is minus 25 on hit, minus 25 on shield, do I have anything that can just punish them if I can even, let's say, drop shield and F smash, which would kill, whereas a grab wouldn't, or an up smash wouldn't, or an up B wouldn't, depending on your character. So if you know those things, or if you don't know those things, you should try and find those things out for yourself for whatever matchup you're going through. On top of that as well, take every matchup one at a time. And I mean that as wholeheartedly as possible. So instead of saying, oh, my whole region has like 14 different characters, I'm just going to learn all 14 at the same time. You can't do that. You can try, but it's going to be incredibly rough. What I would be doing instead of that is learning the top players and then going from there down. Because the top players, no matter how far you get, you might be able to just outskill the other players, but the top players, you're never going to just escape them and never have to fight them. You might not have to fight all of them. But let's just say, like I said, the best player in your region happens to play Snake. If you somehow beat everybody else without practicing those matchups, you're going to have to fight this guy. It's inevitable. So if you get stopped before that guy, the next person that you lose to, that's who you want to look up and study as far as the character. If there's VODs of that player from that local, if it's streamed, I'd be looking that type of stuff up as well too. And I'd be game planning around that and working backwards until I have every roadblock cleared. If I get to the top player, I might have a chance of beating him because I know what I'm trying to do against his character. But I didn't get to him, so the next person, if I lose to this person, I know what I have to do for next time. If I lose to the person before that even, I know what to do next time. So eventually, if you ever get those same players who are consistently getting the top 4, top 5, or top 8 placements even, and you know you're going to have to fight some of them at some point, you should know those matchups. Versus the opposite, which a lot of players do, which I don't think is a smart thing to do, is when they're trying to learn matchups, they just start with Mario and go across the entire roster. It's like, there's no point in doing this. Like, if you're trying to learn every single matchup and then you spend 2 weeks working on the Duck Hunt matchup and there's no Duck Hunts anywhere in the entirety of your state, then who cares? Like, you learn all this information and all this counterplay for literally nothing. If someone just randomly shows up and it happens to be that one player who plays that character and you beat him, then sure, that's great. But if you're losing to Joker, Palu, Pikachu, Snake, Pyra/Mythra, Inkling, Chrom, whoever it might be, all the time, and Duck Hunt doesn't even show up, then the information's useless. Prioritize strategizing around your region first. That's the number one thing. Would you say that changing up gameplay can be used as a form of mental warfare to throw off your opponent by oozing confidence? Changing up gameplay, of course. So you mean changing up gameplay as far as going from super aggro to then bait and punish, to then super campy, to then back to aggro, then campy again, and kind of doing something like that, you mean? There is definitely some merit to trying to do that. I have nothing against that. I have had players ask me if you should throw on purpose so your opponent thinks that you suck. I would never ever recommend that. You should always play, in my opinion, the way that you should play every single set is you should play as uptight and as serious as possible until your opponent proves to you that you don't have to be that serious. Versus doing the opposite, being like, yo, I'm just better. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to go in and do whatever I want. Because if they just start to just destroy you because you're fucking around thinking that you're the shit, or you're throwing on purpose to try and have them think that you suck, they got a big enough lead. Even if you were correct in having them like try and relax a little bit, you've now just thrown. So there's no point in ever doing that. But as far as switching up your playstyle, if you're able to, provided that your character, it makes sense to do that. Like if you play a character like, I don't know, Incineroar, I'll say, someone like that, or Ike, doing a rush down Ike or a rush down Incineroar, it doesn't really make any sense. Like you don't want to abandon your character's main bread and butter game plan. Incineroar would be ledge trapping. Ike is basically nair or neutral whiff punishing. So you don't want to just start throwing out dash attacks and jumping in with fair as Ike to make them think that you're an aggressive Ike. It's a bad idea altogether.